All right, let's slowly but surely tune out the music for today. We have a great space organized for you guys today. NFT Price Floor, the organizers. Thank you guys very much. Looking forward to hearing from the wonderful guests that we have lined up today, though. First of all, I want to welcome everyone. Are they already on stage? Perfect. Love to see it. Kook, the team at Ledger, always with the alpha, always with the knowledge, always with the security tips. Love to see him on space. Leo from also a Web3 VC, very interesting. We'll be hearing some hopefully very smart stuff about the future of the NFT markets and where we're all going, if there is a next bull run and when it's going to happen. And of course, also Mimi, thank you very much. I need some tips for how to enjoy my avocados, as I see you are the best source of inspiration for that. Obviously, also a partner at OWC. Great to have you too with all your knowledge. Love to have it. GM everyone. Hope you guys are having a great Thursday. It is. How are you guys?
What's up, Colin? How are you, man?
Hi everyone.
GM.
Yeah, nice to have you guys here. I hope the bear market doesn't have you guys too down in I don't know, goblin market territory. I hope everything's doing great. NFT market is kind of trending lower. Usually we start off these spaces just kind of running through the NFT price floor, the website, checking it out, seeing what's happening. I'll try and keep it short today simply because, well, prices aren't looking that great. Everything's down across the board in ETH and in dollars. So there's not really that much happiness to report, I'd say. But I'm going to look forward to some happiness that you guys might be able to bring into the NFT investors, quote unquote, life. So just a couple of numbers on the week. CryptoPunks are down 10% in ETH terms. Bored Apes down 6.5%. Mutants almost down 10%. Azuki being one of the only ones in the green, 7.4% up. Other deeds down 12%, still above 1.2 ETH. Nice to see that at least. But yeah, a lot of the quote unquote blue chips that we saw over the past year and a half, 20 months, established themselves are right now quite far down from their all-time high prices. You can also definitely check out the charts. Yeah, down 70, 80%. It does kind of feel like we're back in the when the shitcoin bubble kind of burst from 2017. I guess there is a lot of NFTs that will have a similar fate, potentially at least with pictures. Let's put it that way. That's maybe the positive frame of mind. But yeah, with that, I definitely do want to open up the discussion. We're going to hear a lot of interesting things about the NFT market and the next bull run. So I guess I'm first going to just hand it over to you guys, and you guys can give yourselves a proper introduction, where you're coming from, what your speciality is, and then we can get into the questions. Maybe ladies first. Mimi, do you want to start?
Sure, you're too kind. Thank you. Hi everyone. I'm excited to be here, partner at OWC Ventures. We've been in the space for a while now as venture builders. If you're a pre-seed company, apply to our accelerator. We also do things at sort of the earliest stages. So from seed to probably, I would say somewhere between Series A. I'm super excited about this conversation. As I think, consumer crypto NFTs are a huge part of the adoption narrative. And I think it gets overlooked often because we're always focusing on DeFi and everything sort of degen on that side. So it's great to just be around folks who really get that this is a part of sort of the real mass adoption, right? The folks who aren't going to be the most technical, the folks who aren't going to, slosh in and out of DeFi. So super excited to be here with you all.
Yeah, lovely to hear. DeFi always kind of gets spotlight shown on it. Rightfully so too. I mean, it's an important layer of technology, but yeah, absolutely, the customer to customer side of things also very interesting. Thank you very much, Mimi. Let's hand it over to Leo. Nice to have you on too, mate.
Yes, great to be here. So my name is Leo, and I'm the head of platform for Struck Crypto. So Struck Crypto is a Web3 VC fund. We've been investing in this space since 2017. Some of the portfolio companies include 1inch, Algorand, Zero Hash, and then on the topic of NFTs, mythical games. So shout out to NFL Rivals, which I can talk a little bit more about during the discussion. So really looking forward to be talking about this space. As an investor, a lot of times we're always looking at future trends and trying to just see what's going on, like what's the next evolution of the current space. So eager to dive in.
Awesome. Love to hear it. And last but not least, Kook from Ledger.
Hey guys, what's up? Good to be here. For the ones that don't know me, my name is Coke. I work at Ledger. I don't know if you know Ledger, but it's like the best hardware wallet in the space, so you can secure your digital assets offline. And I'm in the marketing team right now, focusing on strategies to the support team and Web3 education. And yeah, I'm super excited about the what are we gonna talk today. I think we have seen a lot of things happening in the space these 2 weeks, and yeah, I'm happy to hear your thoughts and share my thoughts as well.
Awesome. And for the listeners of the space, just go ahead and retweet either the space, I just pinned it up top, or if you have any questions for the team or for the guests in this case, go ahead and hit that comment button in the bottom right-hand corner. I'll definitely get to those at the end too. So with that being said, NFT Price Floor was so nice as to post a thread a couple hours ago about what we will be discussing. And I just want to kind of run through it and get your thoughts and opinions on it. If anyone has specific thoughts, just go ahead and raise your hand. We'll definitely get to everything, everyone who raised their hand and wants to say something. But yeah, with that being said, hour on the clock, let's go. So maybe starting off with like how the NFT community kind of has been changing over the recent couple months. So obviously, Blur came into the market. That really changed up things. With macro and crypto really facing a turndown over 2020. I just wanted to get your temperature reading. Do you guys think that NFTs right now are bullish, or do you think that right now for the next couple months, the technology and the adoption curve is kind of going to be slowing? So with that being said, I know you guys don't have a look into the future either. That's kind of hard to say, but just want to get your thoughts and opinions on where we'll be heading over the next 3 to 6 months, maybe. Anyone want to grab that thought process from me?
Yeah, I can share my thoughts, man.
Perfect.
So, to be honest, short term, I'm a little bearish because the Blur halving is coming, and traders like volume trade is gonna be low, so we could see like a further downside. But I'm super bullish about the community and how it's been developing in the space. We have seen a lot of good sentiment recently with the bridge of YouTube Polygon, DGods, NYC NFT, and yeah, the resilience of the NFT community is speechless, to be honest. So I really think like we are gonna see a better use case in the NFT space, and of course it depends on price action of ETH and economics. But yeah, I'm definitely bullish long term, a little bearish in the short term. But let's see. This market is always like surprising you. Like for example, right now with the meme coin season, a lot of NFT traders are making a lot of money. So yeah, let's see. I'm super excited, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you touched on a number of really good points from sort of the micro perspective, but I think, popping back up to macro, I do think a lot of what we see in the NFT market, of course, is correlated to BTC and ETH, right? Just because I think BTC is always the relevant proxy for folks who are trying to get a gauge as the health of the space, and most people see it as the real place for store value here, right? So like, if you sort of think about the folks who don't know this space well, they're probably always going to start there. And if they feel a bit more bullish, they're going to sort of go into ETH. And then if that sort of, if money trickles, greed trickles, or it ticks up, right, folks are willing to go into more other sort of alt positions or alternative ways to invest, like NFTs. So I think it's a really interesting time with macro, at least just speaking from US. I know we have, global group of participants here. And so I think, we've seen a bit of uptick. Folks are hoping that there's like a Fed pivot or pause some point at the end of this year. I think there's could be, right? We can't always predict or foresee things, but a little more contagion to be seen. And so I think while we're getting a bit of that like uptick and, it's going to trickle down to NFTs, I do think we still, from a US perspective, will be facing a little bit more contagions, right? And I think, credit just needs to tighten as well. So I think it's an interesting sort of look. And I think your point was great, like looking at the micro and macro to really see how things play together, right? And I think most folks aren't just going to jump into an NFT first, right? If there's more money sloshing around, if folks feel more optimistic, if the greed index is a bit higher, folks are more willing to sort of take that on, right? If they're not a crypto native. So, I think this next 6 to 8 months, right, folks are still going to be sort of waiting to see if that sort of Fed pivot or pause happens, then we sort of know we're at a reset and it's a well timing for like the coming back into, right, of a bull run, right? So definitely optimistic for next year. We're sort of going to see what it looks like the next 6 to 8 months.
So on the optimism point, like I definitely echo that because in spite of the like overall conditions, right, with the macroeconomic situation, just as everyone was mentioning, there's just so much building still going on. Like there's a lot of activity. There's big brands. They are talking with NFT projects to release different things. Like just because there isn't like maybe as much news right now, this is the time to actually like work on partnerships and such. Even just one example was actually like what Starbucks has been doing with Polygon recently. Like I think that news came out sometime this week. Like big brands doing activations with NFTs. I think that's going to continue. And like one point is that like what's key is seeing the players that are actually like the big brands that are continuing to work in this space even during that time of fear. Like that I think will lead to just a lot to come out when times are good.
Yeah, and that kind of also leads into the thought process I think many teams are having right now, building behind the scenes, but releasing product when market kind of looks at least a little bit more bullish. Mimi, you mentioned the fear and greed index. I've been having a theory on that, and I just want to bounce the idea off you real quick. The optimum time to buy the coins is when like the fear is at its absolute maximum, but the optimum time to buy the memes, i.e., the NFTs in this case, is when the fear and greed is a bit higher, so a bit more greedy, when people actually are willing to take on more risk. That's just my personal, like, kind of quote theory. I don't know if that's based on that much other than just my feelings, but yeah, would just love to bounce that thought process off your head.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on, right? When folks are willing to take on more risk, when they are sort of excited about the speculative nature, I think that's where, especially with like NFTs, when again, like a lot of the folks entering into this space, we talked about this will probably be the point of like entry for a lot of newbies. They don't understand everything about the tech, right? They don't understand everything about how the value accrues. And I know we'll get to this, like how do folks think about NFTs and make the smart investor decision. And so your best sort of proxy is like money is sloshing around, I should get in, right? Like, so it's almost like the irrational sense of like FOMO and sort of greed is sort of the best time for folks to sort of launch these projects, right? Because it's sort of that from a buyer's perspective, like I just don't want to miss out, right? This must be the best time. If I don't invest now, like it could get higher later, right? So sort of the irrational market participant is probably best when the greed index is high, right? So for a creator, it's like it's when you want to be launching a project as well. So absolutely, I think you're spot on.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Thank you very much for your thoughts on that. All right, I guess let's move on to tap it. Leo and Mimi already mentioned it slightly. When's the next, like, what's the next catalyst going to be? And you guys both mentioned that the macro is kind of kind of still not perfect for NFT season. We've been seeing a rather large kind of pump. By now, it's almost 100% pump from the absolute lows of Bitcoin and of ETH2. So I guess let's just broaden the question for one last time about just broadening it out to the entire cryptoverse. Do you think that we're already in the next bull market, or do you see that maybe a recession or something else is maybe still on the horizon to dampen our mood in the general crypto sphere too?
I can jump in that. So you mentioned catalyst for the next NFT Bull Run, and I think that will come with the NFT use case that we could see in the future. Like Leo said, the Starbucks initiative, we could see music NFTs pumping, and that could bring more users to know more about NFTs, use it in real time with NFT ticketing and more. So that could bring more users. But yeah, I think depends on how things develop. We could see like a real recession in the short term, like between 3 to 9 months, and then we have to see how the market develops and how the sentiment is going to be, because NFTs is all about the speculation, and right now traders outnumber buyers, so sellers. So sorry. So yeah, let's see. It has reduced a lot.
Yeah, and that was a great point. I probably add, we've already talked a little bit about sort of the macro conditions. I think catalyst for sort of micro, I definitely, of course, is going to be innovation. And so I think a lot of what's happening on L2s, right? I think we all know this, and it's the thing we all harp on, like more scalable, cheaper, faster, better networks is going to totally dramatically improve the experience for folks who are coming in. I also think, bringing utility, and we all say this as well, it's another narrative that gets run around, like we need more utility for NFTs rather than just like collecting it, having it in your wallet, and like, great, it's your Twitter profile, like, cool, bro, like everyone's asking for more utility. And so I do think like NFTs being used in things like DAO governance, like it's also going to catalyze things, right? Because when people can see there's sort of a clear utility outside of course, what we love to do is collect the things that appeal to us, that are fun, I think that will also catalyze. So I think infrastructure is going to play a huge part for the next bull run. We've just seen so many good chains, again, ready to launch. We've had a few different sort of L2s, etc. I also think just like more folks using NFTs and DAOs, and just like core primitives that need NFT utility versus just sort of like NFT fun is going to be super important. And even like metaverse, I also think like the metaverse in gaming is, everybody knows it's a clear home run. It makes sense. We're just trying to still improve the games themselves, right? So I feel like bringing utility and the core infrastructure is going to be huge and sort of the next catalyst for NFT market.
Yeah, utility is a really great point, and I think I'm excited to talk just more about some of the new technologies too. Um, there's a lot of different factors. Just one more to bring up, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, was around recognition. So just like people actually like trusting what NFTs are, like not believing that it's a scam, things like that. And I think like the whole thing with, let's say, a big brand like Starbucks doing something, um, that's really powerful. Like when people see that, that's a case in terms of driving adoption. So, like I mentioned, Mythical Games. Mythical Games, what they're doing is that they partner with the NFL on a game called NFL Rivals. So it features NFT collectibles. It's a little bit similar to what happened a few years back with Dapper Labs. So Dapper Labs did NBA Top Shot, and so these are major brands everyone knows about. When they see what's going on, um, that's the real catalyst for adoption. And I think one key here is actually that they're not exactly like saying, "Oh, this is NFTs," things like that. They call it collectibles, and so that removes a lot of friction in terms of adoption. Like sometimes the word itself, that's something that sometimes becomes like tainted. Like when people say crypto, some people think automatically that this is a scam. So when you're focusing on the actual like use case rather than talking about some of the like what might people might think are buzzwords, I think that's really helpful. And then just another example of like what's been going on with the big brand activations. So during the World Cup, FIFA actually launched an NFT collection off of Algorand. So it's just like this. I think this is going to continue to happen. And then lastly, to tie it back to what Mimi mentioned about gaming, like this is a really high level point that we can go deeper into, but like when there are actually like good games that come out, like games that people actually want to play, then like that's really going to drive a lot of adoption too. And like one thing that happened yesterday was Unreal Engine. Like they released Unreal Engine 5. Like that is huge. Like that's a big leap forward. It's like kind of like how GPT-3 moved to GPT-4. Like these are big leaps that will actually like lay the foundation to future adoption.
I'd be happy to explore that. I was thinking of it while Mimi was speaking too. It does feel kind of like the 2020s of AI innovation, maybe 2021s, maybe of that sort in the metaverse space, simply because slowly but surely all the different tools, all the different aspects of it are coming together. All the stars are slowly lining. Everyone in the space realizes that it's going to be a great, huge thing, but it hasn't quite materialized yet due to various factors, due to adoption, due to, I mean, we can discuss why it hasn't materialized yet. But as Leo and Mimi both adequately already described, I really think the way to solve this metaverse and like utility thing is not to shoehorn NFTs into everything, but to have already profitable products and then pouring in the NFT technology behind the scenes, maybe even, and then giving the customers their utility through that. I see so many NFT projects out there that simply aren't profitable, that simply don't have anything yet. So, Leo, as you said, if FIFA comes in and uses NFTs for any large scale thing at all, then that's just a way to get in front of the phones and screens and minds of thousands of hundreds of thousands of people, and very bullish, very bullish. But I think Kook, you said it earlier about the technology. At the end of the day, everyone in this room here over the past 12 months has been spending money on gas. That is a like, oh, you're very early tax. And I really, truly do hope that the next generation of NFT buyers will not have to pay that tax anymore, and will have a smoother onboarding with potentially more safety guardrails intact if they so choose, and also hopefully with lower gas fees. But yeah, Leo, I'd love to expand the conversation on utility in NFTs and maybe also the next wave of products that will arise out of NFTs, and maybe it'll also like kind of catalyze the next bull run too, as you said. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll mention two projects, and it was actually interesting just looking into these recently. So there's an NFT project called Checks Collection. This is by someone named Jack Butcher. What's unique about them is that um, you can, like, people with this collection of NFTs, they can burn their NFT to then create a new NFT, and then they can burn that again to create something else. So I forgot the exact number of checks, but it might go from like 20 all the way to like one. Like every time you burn it, it gets halved. And that's just something that's interesting. Like it's another piece of utility for your NFT. Like it actually creates value because it becomes increasingly rare. Like people are actually putting money in to buy these NFTs, and then when they burn it, they create an NFT that's even more rare, all the way up to like being the rarest one. So I think that that's a pretty novel use case. And another one is called Cyber Stadium. So this is, they call themselves the first 100% on-chain NFT game. I mean, there's been a lot of NFT games before, right? Like one is Axie Infinity. There's another one where it's like a racehorse. I forgot the name about that one, but this one is like a battler. So people can use their NFT and then stake it to then essentially like fight with someone. And then the loser, their NFT actually basically gets burned. So like their character actually dies and then they have to get another one. So I think these are just some interesting use cases in like that expand beyond, let's say, like profile pictures and such for NFTs.
I would like to add something on top of that. I think, Leo, you make a great point. Jack Butcher ecosystem has developed like a lot of interesting in the NFT space with open editions. A lot of artists have been doing this Q1 of 2023, and yeah, we are seeing a lot of innovation in the space. Also, I want to add something about gaming. PlayStation is trying to enter in the space. Not PlayStation, sorry, Sony, and they are trying to use PlayStation to enter the space. So let's be real, who is going to be the next generation in our space, in the NFT space, or the whole technology are going to be the kids that right now spend all the time with their computers, phones, playing games, connecting with communities online, and this could bring like a lot of value and a lot of people, increase exposure. So yeah, I think these new trends are really good for innovation in the space.
I'd love to ask a question because I often feel, especially with like last sort of bull market, I felt like the contribution from a lot of these top brands were so lukewarm. Like a lot of the celebrities and like top companies were really just launching NFTs either as a quick gimmick or buck. And I'm always sort of torn in the two because I feel like, yes, it helps us push forward adoption, but it also doesn't bring credibility back to like what the full utility can be, right? Because then folks just see like Nike or Charming or someone weird doing like a quick like pump or a gimmick with the NFT, and folks are like, okay, well, that's interesting. So like, I guess my question to you all, do you feel like there's somewhat a brand that has done it really well to show meaningful utility outside of like one-off like quick pumps and drops? Because it's hard. I feel like the last few ones I've heard of is like this brand picks this chain, they launch this, and then you never hear of it again, right? Like it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, Starbucks clearly is the one that everyone's going to go to, but outside of that, right? I think Starbucks is literally the only one that's brought us to a new level that like, great, there's real utility now. Like you're not just making a gimmick out of it. So I'd be keen to see if there's like anyone else. I guess, yeah, also NBA. I'm answering my question, but would love to hear outside of sort of the two that we've talked about, because I feel like those are the only two, and like the other 100 are just sort of making small gimmicks. But maybe we need to be okay with those POCs, right? I know folks have sort of two different stance on it.
I mean, one of the biggest celebrities in the US just launched their second season of Cards. Starts with T, ends with Trump. I think he made another 4.5 million off it. So if that's a cash grab or not, I'll leave that up for anyone else's interpretation. But the fact is that just quote unquote launching tokens and doing the quick cash grabby thing, it's a viable process for these people. And as long as it is, I think they won't stop. I think they actually need some strong incentive to stick around, or they actually have to be interested in the technology that underlines it, or they'll probably, I mean, let's be honest, like the celebrities usually aren't the technology forefathers. They'll see something work and they'll copy paste that onto their brand, and let's hope it doesn't turn into cash grab, but actually something with value and long term kind of thinking too. But yeah, Leo, Cook, you guys want to elaborate on that? If not, we can definitely jump on to the next point too. We still have a lot to get through, but I think it's an interesting discussion. I see also a lot of interesting people in the audience. Karina, nice to see you. Hosey, KP Moon, Alex, Arena, Sebastian, Ferdy. Love to have you guys here. Love to see it. Yeah, thanks for joining. Leo, please.
I mean, I think that's just a really great question. Like, that's something that seems to be like unaddressed. So Mimi, definitely appreciate you like bringing that up. I don't know if I have the answer to that. It's like this is definitely a marketing tool for them. Like they're leveraging a trend, like they're leveraging a buzzword, basically riding the wave. And so it's important to really understand like what the key questions are. It's just like with blockchain, understanding like what instances does it actually make sense to then actually extrapolate if something that someone's doing like has the value or not. So definitely don't have a specific answer to it, but maybe like questions to evaluate like if it makes sense or not.
I would like to add something on that. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think there is like a lot of brands that coming into the space and they are like cash grabs, like you said. But the thing is, we are on baby steps, right? So it's good also that big brands enter the space and try and see how community works in the NFT space, right? Because this will be a use case for future brands, and then we'll use this and study this and don't make the same mistakes. Of course, we are gonna see more cash grabs. I hope no, but it is positive as at the same time.
Yeah, one thing just to talk about how early the space is. So Mythical Games, right? They're the company that worked with NFL and NFL rivals. Like that's great and all, but then the question is like, what more utility can come? And so this is definitely something that's not certain, that's still in the works, but like they created a foundation called the Mythos Foundation. So it's Mythical Games. I think Yuga Labs is part of it. YGG, Ubisoft as well. So that's basically a consortium to work on topics like interoperability. Um, there isn't any right now, but it's like if they're able to solve something like this, I think that can lead to potential like unlocks of value. So like interoperability, that's a really huge question. I know in some of the discussion topics for today, one is like IP, legal rights, all of that. Like these are a lot of questions to be figured out. So it might be that because it's so early, it's like these are the baby steps, as Cook mentioned, and as people are solving and answering these questions, then like there's unlocks of value.
Yeah. So absolutely, the IP rights I think was a big discussion in NFTs too. I remember 4328. Geez, I had too many numbers in this space. He sold all his punks because he didn't get a clear answer from Larva Labs about if his punks belong to him or someone else, or if they're CC0. Definitely want to open up the discussion on that too. Kook, Mimi, do you guys think that the NFT trend will kind of go more into the open metaverse type of situation where everyone can utilize anyone's IP rights? Or do you think that the NFTs itself will hold a stronger version of the IP rights? Yeah, and also I guess the question that is attached here automatically is: do you think that the courts will hold up NFT ownership rights as a substantial thing?
Yeah, there's a lot there to unpack, and I think really like to simplify it, there's really three frameworks for IP rights, right? The first, which we all know about, is the issuer owning all of the rights, and the buyer just essentially has personal use, right? That's what we experience today with most things, right? And then so the second that we've seen arise, and you guys all probably know of a few projects doing this, which is similar to Loot and a few others, it's like, zero licensing, right? Where, anything sort of created is public domain goods, right? And anyone can iterate and no one makes money from it, right? And I think sort of the issue with the first we know is, of course, centralized IP rights reduces if something is an NFT, right, and they decide to have a sort of centralized IP right, you're basically reducing blockchain only to an efficiency play. You're basically saying you don't want to unlock all of the other things you know what's good about it, and it's just for making it immutable. It's just for allowing people to be able to put it digital, and that's sort of it, right? I think sort of the other issue that comes with sort of zero licensing is that it sort of diminishes the value of the creation and the creator, right? I do believe creators should be paid, and I do believe, you know, things created, creation should have its value and that should transcend, right, as well, right? Like whether or not we add new pieces to it or modify, etc., right? Like it holds value to us, it holds meaning to us. So I do think there's sort of a middle ground there, which we've already seen being sort of implemented with folks like Board Out Club, where it's, you know, you can bestow sort of commercial rights or limited commercial rights to NFT holders, and then sort of the issuer will retain a lot of you know, sort of how the community can iterate on the product. But you know, I want to just take a step back, that whatever model people take in IP rights for NFTs, it really comes down to the project. Is it a business? What's the business model? X, Y, and Z, right? So you can sort of see the difference in each example I've given. There's a reason why the IP rights are structured the way they are, right? Because one of them may just be truly like it's a public good, the person doesn't care to own it, they don't want to monetize. If you want to monetize, you now are stuck with option, you know, middle ground or centralized, because you need to capture that value. So it is a very hard, I think, discussion for creators to have. And you know, we can sort of go down the whole rabbit hole, because I think people talk about IP in silo, but it needs to be IP and like fees and costs, because the two go together for us to understand what we're protecting, right? How we're allowing value to accrue. So I sort of don't like doing the conversation separate. It really should be in tandem. So it's just my 2 cents.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we kind of also see how it can go wrong, right? The Moonbirds had their discussion on who owns the IP rights internally, not with the community, and they just kind of boom dropped it on everyone. Oh, we're CC0 by the way now, because that's the hype. I don't want to even hate on that decision. I think it's a very valid decision if you're thinking of it as arts and not necessarily as a PFP you want to monetize, as maybe the BOYC would like maybe be the counter example. But yeah, very, very interesting thoughts, maybe. Cook, I think I saw you wanted to unmute. Anything to add on the IP rights specifically? We can definitely go into the the fees and royalties afterwards. I think that's another whole can of worms that we can kind of just skim the top off of, because it's very interesting too. Cook, please.
No, sorry, bro. My airport disconnected. But yeah, I agree with Mimi. Like it will be depend on the project and what are they trying to achieve. Like as you mentioned, for example, with Moonbirds, it was a huge mistake, at least for the holders. So yeah, I think we will have to see, and depends on the project. But yeah, it was my airport. Sorry, man.
No stress at all. Yeah, just unmute and we can discuss the IP rights a bit further. Again, I personally, as Colin, the NFT collector, I do think that art kind of has this inherent aspect that it is more a cultural thing, where it belongs to the domain more. If you buy an NFT that is mainly focused as an art piece, I do think that other people should also have the right to share it, to reconstruct it, all that kind of stuff. But if it's something that you're building a brand upon, then that's kind of where I start making a definition change in judgment too. So if you want to have a solid foundational base to build a brand or a business on, then that's not something you want to have rugged from under your feet. And I remember a couple people who bought Moonbirds for over 50, 60, 70, 100 ETH because they wanted to build a brand with it, and then they just don't see that viable anymore, and they ended up selling them mainly at a loss. So yeah, that's also again highlighting the importance of clear communication. Leo, maybe over to you for 1 second. Do you want to take the IP rights, or do we want to go into the fees routes? Because I do think that that's also very, very timely currently with Blur and everything.
Yeah, I think we can go to the next topic.
All right, fair enough. So obviously, OpenSea was dominating the early NFT markets massively, charging their 2.5% fee. Off top, the dream of any VC and investor, I'll just call it what it is. earning money while everyone else was having fun. As X2Y2, LooksRare, and Co. started to develop their own product and launching it, they precipitously reduced the fee that they were taking until I think X2Y2 or Blur really introduced the zero fee environment, where essentially the platform wasn't taking in any money at all, but it was truly Blur who also went one step further and made the royalty payments to the individual collections not required anymore, but optional. Obviously, NFTs, if they can be transferred, if they have a transfer function in their contract, they will always be able to be transferred and kind of circumventing that loophole. But yeah, the current solution is that that OpenSea implemented a code snippet that either makes it tradable on Blur or on OpenSea via an API, and it then automatically enforces the royalties to the creators too. But recently, OpenSea has bought Gem, launched OpenSea Pro, reduced fees there to 0%, and then increased them back up to 2.5%, both on OpenSea Pro and OpenSea. So that's maybe my 30-second TLDR version of royalties on the markets. I don't know, Kook, Mimi, do you guys want to take it away on where do you guys think this trend is going to be going? If you think it's important that we pay royalties, or if you just think free market, anyone should be doing whatever the fuck they want. Sorry for my English on that one. But yeah, please interrupt me before I say more bad words.
I can add on that. Do you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I was talking with a friend about this, and he was like super pissed because he thinks like royalties should be enforced in marketplace, but I don't think this is going to happen. Because of how markets has matured at the moment, and I think verticalization of marketplace or niche marketplace or private marketplace will emerge, like CryptoPunks, Art Blogs, Valhalla, and more. Yeah, like I don't think this trend is gonna change. It's a pity for artists because this royalties is the maybe the main revenue for them. So yeah, but I don't think this trend is gonna change, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a good point. I'll sort of add and maybe pop up a level, because I think, to sort of understand why folks go, marketplaces decide on sort of the back and forth, and it is a good topic we should come to afterwards, is like the over like fragmentation of marketplaces, right? Like there's so many competitors in the space, you're trying to get market share, and what is the typical 101 playbook to that is like cutting your prices, right? Like cutting your prices so you bring more people. And we've seen that with, Magic Eden doing that. That was a strategy they used to basically, especially when it became a bear market, like the only way for them to keep up market share was to, reduce their cost or to make it optional. So, the question becomes, will strategies like that work every time the cycle goes down? No. So Cook's point's right. Like, there's going to be a place in which like that can't be how you think about keeping your competitive edge, right? Like you have to systematically think about the overall longevity of your platform and what's going to sort of drive people. There's also, again, a separate topic about niche marketplaces versus aggregators that we can totally get into, because the space is so overly fragmented by I'm a marketplace for this chain, I'm a marketplace for this, I'm a marketplace for that. So that's not to be sort of left out in my comment, because I think that'll probably answer more of that sort of top level of how folks get market share. But sort of here's my high level thoughts, because it's so hard. And I think, don't hate me guys, fees. Here's the thought for against fees, right? So fees acts clearly as a tax for folks, right? For buyers and sellers, okay? And then for fees, right, it clearly makes sense, right? So as we move to like L2s with sort of less less gas fees, having no fees, and also having no fees basically will allow for folks to fake volume. And we also should get into this about like metrics that investors should care about. we all know about sort of wash trading and how folks can sort of pump if depending on how sort of the analytics platform you're using can sort of use volume as sort of a proxy for a project being good or whatever valuable, right? And that sort of tricks people into investing in it. And I just think there is logic in fees being there, right? If these are true businesses, it makes sense to have fees there. It makes sense to allow for royalties to be there. You also increase the price for the creators, right? They inherently have to make the price higher because now you've removed a data point or a revenue source for themselves, which is royalties as well. So there's just so much there to unpack, but you know, I could go on this topic forever because I just think there's so much to unpack with innovation and just business models in general that need to sort of coincide together to have the conversation. So I'll stop.
Yeah, so just jumping a little bit on this, I think it's super fascinating too, like business models. So there's one thing about, let's say, the marketplaces themselves charging fees, and then the other part is about the royalties. I'll talk a bit on the first part in terms of the marketplace. So let's say, like right now, brokerage firms, so Fidelity, let's say, right, there's no fees anymore for stock trading, whereas they used to charge money per trade. um, Robinhood was the one who started that, and then like they're making money in another way, like by not charging fees for commission stock trades, no commissions. Like they're making money on basically the data. Like they're selling that to market makers, high frequency traders. So that was an interesting business model innovation. Now in these NFT marketplaces, like if there's a race to the bottom for fees, like they're going to have to figure out what other ways to monetize. So those are some questions like they should think about, and then also what the second order effects are from that, just as Mimi pointed out, where if there's no fees, there can be wash trading, there can be like spoof volumes and all of that. So it is definitely super complex.
So I just want to chip in maybe from the non-VC point of view. As a user, I'm willing to pay fees as long as they're not exorbitant. So thinking back to my early days on OpenSea, you'd be paying 5% on average because either like OpenSea would take 2.5%, and the royalties would be between 2.5% and 5% usually. So 5 to 7.5% on average. That's a high tax for transactions that mainly gets carried by the seller in this case. So it's a tax on the flipper essentially. I do think that people are willing to pay for the service of getting the listing up, for getting the buyer on a safe page, for getting the liquidity onto the platform. But I think the range for that fee is more towards 0.5 to 1%, not 2.5%. And OpenSea as a business was valued as high as they were because they were able to charge 2.5% because they essentially had a monopoly on it. So, Mimi, Leo, just maybe shifting back over to the VC point of view, do you guys think that because it's a network effect, right? Who do you think will end up winning this maybe mind share and also market share grabbing game, and who can sustain it for long enough to actually become a sustainable player in the market war games? Because the alternative to having OpenSea and Blur, having the totally opposite one would be every single project has their own front end to their own Uniswap version of their of their product. So if you wanted to buy a CryptoPunk, you go onto the CryptoPunk website. If you want to buy Bored Ape, you go on to boredape.marketplace. If you want to buy, I don't know, what else do we have here in the audience going to go through it. I don't see I don't know. Other projects, you go to otherproject.marketplace.com and just buy your stuff there, and then simply pay the royalty and no other fees. That would maybe be the maximum decentralized version of affairs. But Leo, Mimi, please.
I'm happy to chime in on this one, and no shill intended, but I think, the answer to this is going to come more towards the discussion about where we're headed versus like niche versus aggregators. I think you guys are going to start to get what I'm putting down. NFT floor price, yeah, we love them. Reason why we're excited about them. Um, I think that over time, again, just things being so fragmented. Here's what I think. So clearly, I think for crypto natives and enthusiasts, they are going to be moving towards aggregators, right? Because you clearly just want an Amazon or an eBay, right? To search everything, and you want the right analytics and data points. The other alternative to this is that we get so sophisticated with sort of wallets and the experience is so clean, people start at wallets, right? Because that also makes sense, right? Like if you already have Coinbase, you're going to sort of just go there, and Coinbase just has a very sophisticated way in which the filtering works, you're able to narrow down, and they plug into other aggregators, right? Makes sense. For the folks who are sort of, this is a probably rude term, but crypto literate, they're likely going to go to niche places. And I don't mean niche by like, Bored Ape Yacht Club specific website. Like literally, I mean like they're going to go to Nike. They're going to go to Nike's marketplace because that's literally their first point of entry. Like they've never even thought about a crypto wallet. They've never even thought about, Coinbase or etc. So I do think that the space and the more advanced folks are going to start going to aggregators, and folks who are net new are going to start at niche platforms. But as they ramp up, right, as things become easier for the everyday user, they're going to move across in that sort of place where they want a marketplace like Amazon or eBay where they can see everything and they care about the underlying data and they care about filtering and they care about rating and they want to see perks and they want to see traits, right? But they don't have that appetite yet. So the niche platform makes sense for them because they just are like, I love Nike. Cool. They have this thing called an NFT. Like I'm just gonna go on this side of this page on the site and look at it, right? And maybe I'll buy it. So, I think it's too early to talk about sort of market share for who will win when I think there's a bigger discussion on like the way in which the innovation is going to sort of change for sort of the top level application experience for buying and entering into NFTs, which I think will happen in the next bull run as well.
Just to build off your thought process on the brands specifically, I would encourage brands that are looking into NFTs as a way to distribute value or give value or just adopt a new technology, maybe keep track of their consumers. I don't know. I've talked to many different brands and they all had different viewpoints on this. Maybe give them non-tradable NFTs, NFTs that hold value that kind of doesn't that doesn't go up exponentially simply because you cannot trade them, so-called soul-bound NFTs. Big fan of it. It just definancializes NFTs for the average user. It takes out the risk for these people that, I don't know, they are buying it simply because they want to 10x it, but it obviously also takes out a lot of the incentive to buy it. So I tread carefully on my advice there. But maybe just my European point of view, I'm all the way over here from Germany. I would like to see normies get into less financialized assets in the cryptoverse simply because everything that we're doing over here is, and that's the outsider's view, is trading shitcoins, some with pictures, some without. But to have something that isn't tradable, to have something that simply sits in your wallet and proves something, either that you spent a lifetime value of over $10,000 with Nike, congratulations, or I don't know, that you've been subscribed to my Substack for over 2 years. I think that's something of value that a lot of companies and also a lot of consumers can easily grasp. And it just takes out a lot of the headache because if you can't transfer it, well, damn, it's going to stay there. So yeah, just my 2 cents on the matter. And that kind of also ends, I think, our marketplace discussion on the royalties there, because if you can't trade it, there doesn't need to be a royalty based marketplace. But yeah, maybe I have one more question for you, Giga Brains, here on stage. With the Blur with the Blur rewards dropping precipitously simply because the Blur token is being devalued over time because more hits the market, do you think that that's a moat that they have, or is it actually a disadvantage that Blur has currently? Because once they stop subsidizing the market, you can guess, and I actually pinned a couple of tweets up top too for you guys to check out in the audience. They do not have the individual buyers. The amount of individual buyers is still massively skewed towards OpenSea. They simply have the volume, and the volume is only there because people are willing to kind of put up their ETH because they're earning Blur rewards. So did they either create a moat for themselves, or did they maneuver themselves into a corner where they have to continuously support the airdrop farming on their platform? I don't know. Question for you guys, Mimi, Leo, Cook.
Yeah, I think they have cornered themselves a little bit, but I also think after the halving that's it's gonna be on 1st of May, they will be come up with something new to still rewards in points the traders to increase trading volume, because once the rewards stops, it's the trading volume is gonna be low, and that will make the NFT floor prices go low as well. So yeah, I think they put themselves in a position that they have to still giving rewards. So it will be really interesting to see how it develops. To be honest, because they have a pretty a roadmap that is pretty complex. To be honest, I didn't see it in so much deep, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they cornered themselves a little bit. I don't know what you think, guys.
Yeah, I mean, this quick comment is about, like, it doesn't seem like there's any lock-in, so that's not good. Like, it's the rewards don't seem to be sustainable.
Not only not sustainable, but I'll go one thing further. It's non-sticky. So by continuously dumping tokens onto the market, they're kind of diluting their own brand. They're diluting their own coin, and they're probably sooner or later also going to dilute the moat that they have. Because, in my opinion, at least, they have a great product. Their website is awesome. I love to use it. But the fact is, it's incentivizing probably right now the wrong type of behavior. If they had launched this feature, this incentivization during the run up, during the bull market, I think that would have kind of been the smarter moment to deploy it. Right now, they're incentivizing people to not market make, but market dump, essentially. The thing that I'm seeing more and more and more is that people simply receive put up the liquidity, airdrop the token, receive a NFT they don't want, immediately dump it onto other people, thus lowering the floor price, thus making everyone poor. So I really think that either they have to turn off the ability for airdrop farmers to immediately dump it again onto the market, maybe have a cooldown of 24, 48 hours, thus making it less incentivized to put up liquidity, thus making people a bit more conservative, thus maybe reducing the incentive for the ultra aggressive airdrop farmers. Or they go down the routes of saying, like, we want to incentivize other behavior and link the airdrop token to not only the liquidity, but also maybe the duration that people held onto NFTs, the history behind it. I don't know, some other stuff that I'm not able to come up on the fly right now. Sorry, Giga Brains. I lost my train of thought there. All right, with that being said, we're almost coming up on an hour. Mimi, Leo, Kook, I would love to hear some closing arguments from you guys. Why the next NFT bull run is still something that's going to happen in the future, and we're not just all going to see our coins dumped down to zero. Would like to also thank you guys for being on here. It was a great discussion. I know that we simply skimmed on all these topics. We could probably host a show on each and every one of those. We did have to keep it moving, though. I hope also that the audience had value out of this space. I definitely think that a lot of cool things were mentioned, and also interesting business models for people to adopt, learn from, copy paste. Remember, the best artists copy. That's just how it's done. All right, with that being said, we started with Mimi, we went with Leo, and then with Kook on the beginning. Let's do it in reverse this time. Kook, I'll give you the floor, and then Leo, and then Mimi, and then NFT price floor. I think we can slowly but surely round out this space. Thank you very much. Kook, please.
Yeah, man. I just want to thank you guys for inviting me. And for closing thoughts, I think the NFT markets will become up again. Right now, it's important to be careful, of course, but with cool use case, real good innovations, and Web2 brands coming into the space, I think we have a really good future. So, yeah, don't forget to use NFT price floor to check the charts. And yeah, man, thank you. Thank you guys. And it's good to meet you all.
Okay, so I will go. I'll be quick as well. I think it's like right now it's time to build. I think that's one takeaway. Another takeaway is that a lot of this is related, like NFTs, metaverse, and gaming. These are all about what's going on in the digital world and then how it ties to things like ownership, which is a real world concept. And so, like the more utility that comes out, and this is what people are building onto with these new use cases, the more that's going to happen. And so, really excited for what's to come.
Awesome. I want to thank you all for having me as well. Really fun space. I'll keep it short and just say, despite what's happening now, or even if we see, asset values or, NFT prices be depressed, I think we're clear, and we've all sort of said this, that we're excited because this is where the real adoption is going to happen through things like this, the metaverse, consumer crypto. It's where folks are going to experience. So I just encourage people on this call, or whether you're sort of new, to use things like NFT floor price to just learn more, right? Like this is your time to get smart. So while the builders are building, get smart, right? So you're ready to collect that bag, you're ready to add value, you're ready to use the technology.
Love it. And the thing about crypto is that it always rewards the people that stick around during the bear markets to learn about the technology. You're going to be the first people to hear about the next Bored Ape Yacht Club, the next Uniswap airdrops, the next, I don't know, whatever. Hopefully the next 100 baggers. Again, none of this has been financial advice. You guys know the drill. We're all here. We're all, struggling through the bear market, but we're all still hopeful. Not still, we're all going to continue to be hopeful that the bull market returns and that adoption returns. And until then, keep on building and stay safe out there. Buy a ledger, use NFT price floor, and follow all these wonderful speakers on stage. Yeah, GM everyone. Hope you guys have a great evening and see you soon. Bye-bye.